Greetings, everybody. Between 2010 and 2013, I lived in Minnetonka, Minnesota. And this was my physician. His name was Dr. Schulenberg, a really, really nice man. I found him, he was kind of out more toward the country than toward town. I was really disoriented in Minnesota, and I was not liking any of the doctors I was going to. They were in these crowded, horrible places like St. Louis Park. And so I was sort of proud of myself that I found him out in Excelsior in this really quiet, it was sort of like a new spy sort of sweet office. And I was just really proud of myself. And he and I just had a really nice, relationship. And one day he told me, I have a really, really super A-list client, and I'm just a little country doctor out here. And I would think about it sometimes, and I'd be like, who lives in Minnesota, right? Who on earth lives in Minnesota? I just thought it's got to be a Minnesota Viking or Al Franken or something like that is great, but to me, not like a superstar. But I could tell it was hard for him to hold it in. He was like, no, I've got a superstar client, and they're really, really amazing, and I'm not allowed to tell anyone who they are. And here's my proof. He was at Ridgeview, which I don't believe he is at anymore. And by the way, he, everyone, poor Prince. I mean, Prince died, but he did get, it was not his fault. It turned out it was someone had put the wrong drug, fentanyl, into an Oxycontin jar. But there he is, Michael T. Schulenberg. So, in Minnetonka, Minnetonka was kind of boring for me. It was kind of exciting if I got to go out and drive by Prince's place in Chanhassen, which was just north. It was just a straight, it was the XXXbergs. And if you look kind of at an aerial photograph, let me see, did I put anything up? Yeah, here's a little aerial shot of Paisley Park. And if you really open it up further, you'll see that it just sort of ends on a farmer's field. And the interesting thing about out here, where it's just really nothing but farmers in Paisley Park, was that the headquarters for Eckankar were just literally kind of across the street from Prince. And so I always found that to be very interesting. And there was like these different Eckankar, there was some sort of Eckankar sign that reminded me of like a necklace, or decal or something. Can't you see Prince having a necklace with the EK there? So I always sort of wondered about their connection with each other, if there was any. But it was just interesting to see these two pyramids kind of next to each other, way out. So there I was in Minnetonka. I was rather bored. Whenever I would drive by Prince's place, I'd go, oh, I wish I knew Prince, then maybe I would be happier out here. And weirdly, I was seeing this person and not putting it together with Prince. In fact, he looked even sort of less Princey there, if it were. I just always expected if I met him, he would have on purple and just his hair a different way. And I never put two and two together. But often I was having to go, I'm so glad to be sort of out of the woods in that, but I was having to go to this, look at this horrible place. this is really the central part of Minnetonka, the Target store there, which is this picture does not do it justice. The parking lot is much, much bigger. It's absolutely huge. And I used to kind of go over there to do errands, and I would see him over there, this particular person, and he used to kind of laugh and smile, and I would laugh and smile. My daughter has an incredibly clear memory of both of us being in our cars. In fact, we weren't even noticing him, and I had figured out there were about 5 traffic lights along the side of this Target, and I had started not using them. I would just drive around the parking lot and go through the back, and I'd figured out this kind of quick way to cut through everything, all of this just god-awful traffic that could really suck the life out of a person. And one day I was doing my little thing where I was pretending I was in the ocean, and I was going around this parking lot, and lo and behold, I look in the mirror, my daughter looks behind, and there he was in that vehicle, and he was doing the same thing we were and totally laughing about it. He totally saw what we were doing, and no one else ever noticed, like my little clever car move. I feel really embarrassed. I guess I'll say it right now, but I just, Minnetonka was a really boring white, very boring place. And I just always would get jealous. I remember one time I saw him and I started crying. I thought, how does he have so much money? That guy's always in a great car. I actually had a nice car too. I had a black Scion. But I would see him around, and I started to think, like, is he a dealer? And now I just feel really bad. Like, oh my God, like, I guess that I'm guilty of something, but I'm just letting everyone know, I guess. And I'm ashamed of it. And I would see him in the library too. I know that's totally bizarre. But he totally went all over the place. And my mom even sat with him in a chiropractor's office. It had not dawned on her until after he died. And she said, oh my God, I went to some quacky chiropractor who made me wait in the office for 3 hours. And there was this really polite man, and it was definitely Prince. What was really strange was that I learned that his last meal was from the People's Organic, and I think he would just kind of order and go grab things, and a lot of times dinner would just be dessert. And People's Organic was fairly new. It was really popular. I was totally going there. There was probably the one he went to the most. There were like 2 of them at that time. It probably wasn't this one. This one was like probably a little bigger. He was probably going to the one, I think, just that was on like Excelsior Highway. Yeah. I don't think it's that one. And People's Organic was open. In fact, before I even went there, I saw a thing. Sometimes my mom would put the TV on really early. I'd get my little one dressed, and there was like kind of like a local Minneapolis station, and the man who started People's Organic was on, and he had worked as a chef for the Queen, like on the Britannia for years. And he said, it was, really strict, and that you actually had to measure sandwiches, that no sandwich could be over a 1/4 inch or something like that. And so, he kind of named it tongue-in-cheek, the People's Organic, because he was no longer a chef for the royal family. But then it seemed weird, because when Prince died, I thought of his kind of big song, Purple Rain, which was never my favorite, really. I don't know, Purple Rain, Purple Rain, Purple Rain. I kind of like the other one, the Dove one, a lot. But I like all this stuff, actually. There's something magical and wonderful about Prince. But it was weird that when he died, it was Purple Rain, and then it was also Queen Elizabeth's Purple Rain, like right at the same time. So that was weird. And I had wanted to do this video earlier because I wanted to get, the man talking about how he had worked for the Queen, who owned the People's Cafe where Prince had last eaten, because to me that was just like really, there was something intense about that. Like I even wondered, is that where the drug came from? Is it related to the Queen? It was just too weird. And I was never able to find it. I called the various local TV stations out there, and nobody would ever get back to me on it. It was sad to me. I know about incompetence in the government, but I was sad that I couldn't somehow drum up that footage, because it was just very weird. Why would his last meal be from the chef of our Purple Rain Queen? It's just really, really weird. So I guess I had to make this video without that clip. If anybody works in Minneapolis or is into trying to find it, go for it. I even called the restaurant trying to kind of hunt it down and never could get through to the owner on that. But anyway, Prince, we miss you, we miss you, we miss you. And you were an amazing person to live near. And I'll never forget going in the library and you were there lying on the couch in the back, and you laughed because you knew that I was going there to hide too. You knew all the little good hiding spots in town. You were playful. You were part of everything without us even knowing it. Who you were. You naughty, playful, wonderful, amazing one. You made my little one so happy. That day she looked back and said, "Look at that fun one." And you were driving and playing with us. And we will always, always thank you for that. And I know how much Dr. Schulenberg misses you as well. Much love, Prince. Much love.